accuse Shell and Chevron of practicing racism against the Ogoni people because they do in Ogoni what they do not do in other parts of the world where they prospect for oil.
And here, and a lot of what the Ogoni people strive for, a lot of what they fight for, is for representation in this world. A lot of people are unaware of the Ogoni situation. A lot of people are unaware of who the Ogoni people are. I'll briefly begin by explaining that. So, Ogoni people are typically located in the southeast region of the states of Nigeria, and more so east of Port Harcourt in Nigeria. So this is typically where there's a lot of water close to the coast, and a lot of that is stemmed in how people are seeing Ogoni people, how people theorize about the origins of the Ogoni people in Ogoni land. Some people theorize that they came from Ghana, and they traveled, and they ended up in the Niger Delta region. And for here, they stayed for about 500 years, cultivating their very way of life and tradition. So a lot of these theories kind of go on the fact that the Ogoni people are people that traveled, nomadic people, and eventually ended up settling down and creating a way of life that was catered to agriculture, livestock herding, fishing, and the production of palm oil. Because there are so many groups of people, like, the world is vast, and there may be topics that people may not have heard of, and it's very plausible. But other people, their situation is stemmed in oil and how people became greedy in this process. They wanted to take advantage of the resources that they had to offer. They wanted to take advantage of how oil is such a sought-after commodity in the world that we live in. It has destroyed the very fabric and tradition that they created over such a long period of time. And so for the past 25 plus years, the Ogoni people have suffered primarily because of negligence done by Shell, Chevron, and any other oil company that may have been involved. And a lot of oil spills then became a result of the overproduction, the over-extraction of oil from this region. And so a lot of people may not know about this situation or have heard about it, maybe even prior to this video, because it's not really talked about. It's things like this that the world needs to talk about more. It's peoples and nations like these where their stories need to be heard, their situations need to be addressed. Why do we continue to focus on countries that are already developed? In the sense of development, I mean those who have ample resources that they are able to take advantage of. What can be done for the Ogoni people? How can we support them in their goal of basically getting control of their own land? It's crazy to think that people are fighting for the very land they live on, but it's something that we have to accept. It's something that has occurred in history before. Land is something that people use for capital. And in the 90s, there was Ken saro-wiwa, the most prominent figure for the movement for the survival of the Ogoni people. And along with him, there were 8 others. Most times you'll hear about the Ogoni 9 and the hangings. They were adamant in their ways. They were adamant in what they were fighting for. They wanted people to be able to control their lives. They wanted people to be able to regain their way of life, where this may be through agriculture, herding livestock, production of palm oil, fishing. These are things that people enjoyed doing. These are things that soon became traditions, as I said earlier with the yam harvest. And so I mentioned earlier about yam harvests and cassava and the role that they play in Ogoni society. And so a lot of people kind of think of how there are traditions, there are practices that a lot of groups of people have. And for the Ogoni people, that is celebrating the land on which they live on. And that comes through yams and cassava and how they are a staple for this community. And so I kind of went on a tangent and kind of excluded that part in the original, but I wanted to bring that back just to add some clarification to this point in the video. Now we think about how the culture is being changed for the worst. How people are not able to enjoy the very things that create the society in which they live in. It's a lot of things that we have to think about in the world that we live in. There are a lot of things that we may not be aware of. But the Ogoni people, these past 25 plus years since this major oil spill has occurred, poverty, death, there's just a lot of things that have kind of arisen because of this whole situation. And it was only just recently, in like 2019, that Shell publicly claimed to have involvement in this oil spill. What about the other years prior to that? For as long as I've been alive, I've known this situation because it occurred before my time. Being born in 1999 at the end of the 90s, hearing the stories from my parents, hearing how they had to deal with this, hearing how they fled from their Ogoni land because there was little hope to be able to provide a good life for their children. What is the future that we want to create? What is the future that we want people of varying nations to be a part of? How can we say that we want a world that's unified when we have situations like this in nations in countries like this? Nigeria should do better. Varying other people surrounding the Ogoni land should reach out and help in whatever way they can. There's so much going on that we must be aware of the problems that we face. We must be aware of the problems that our brothers and sisters face. We must be cognizant of the realities of the world in which we live in. And if you so as much care about human rights, if you so as much care about the lives of those who may not be in nearby communities, I advise you or suggest that you pay more attention to situations like this and learn more about the Ogoni people. It's so vast, but yet so short in terms of the history that the Ogoni people have, because how can we create a future when that very future is being destroyed right in front of our eyes? I just wish for better days for Ogoni people, because the Ogoni people are on the brink of extinction. But that's just me. There's Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, and the other bigger tribes in Nigeria. What's a minor tribe to a major tribe? What's a small country to a big country? How are these influences put side by side and compared? It's a lot of food for thought. The Ogoni people are very dedicated to their cause, and hopefully the land will be restored. That's a big hope. But I hope I'm able to live and see that day come. I'm out.
Bye.